Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Tea Dropcast.
Thanks for joining us on the Tea Dropcast. I'm here with Jocasta Hanson in her establishment, the Honey Elixer Bar, and I'm just going to ask her a few questions about the business and herself as an entrepreneur. And you've created all of the items on the menu.
Yes.
And so what would you call yourself then?
Well, I'm a bartender by trade
Yeah.
and a studying psychologist, and then somebody who's just been on their own path of health and wellness. Yeah, and I hire an herbalist to work with me who kind of like helps me flush out the details of different herbs and things like that, just to kind of like have somebody on staff that has a deeper knowledge about the things.
So you've got the expert background, but then you have the passion and the love of doing it.
Yeah.
And I actually read in one of the interviews, and you just mentioned it too, is that you studied psychology. And I thought that was really interesting because I actually studied psychology too, journalism, and then I minored in psych just because I found it fascinating. And I assume you can relate to that. Was that what you majored in?
So I completed my degree at Naropa up in Boulder in transpersonal psychology, and which is kind of the study of the spirit and the mind. So spirituality and humanity, really, and just the power of mindfulness and practice and kind of unexplainable realms.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you feel that's transferred into your business? How have you applied that knowledge? Because I can definitely see the connection of, you're hosting people and you're creating these cocktails and these potions and everything. How has that helped you? How is that?
Yeah, I think for me, in my own just personal development, this understanding of energy and the impact of items, colors, drinks, people. There's just so many things that impact our energy fields. And studying psychology, you can kind of like look at those things from a more scientific standpoint. And so for me, there's so many nuances of how my understanding of psychology and energy like impacts honey. Be it like conversation starter coasters or texture or how I arrange the furniture. There's just very intentional design behind everything.
I could tell it's beautifully designed. I noticed your chakra colored pillows and your crystals everywhere. And there's definitely been a lot of care, and how beautiful the drinks are. I asked you to make a couple drinks so that we could talk about them. Why don't we get started on the drinks? That's a good place to start. So what's this one right here?
So this one is a Jun, which Jun is a more lineage-based, kind of more secret, sought-after, hard-to-come-by culture, SCOBY, similar to kombucha. And you can only get a Jun culture from a brewmaster, and it has to be passed on, so it's definitely like more lineage. And this one in particular is Ish's brew, and it's Honey in the Heart. And Ish is a brewmaster up in Boulder, and he and I sat down before Honey opened and came up with the recipe together for this one in particular to embody kind of what I was going for with honey, which is kind of like heart medicine. And so this one in particular has hawthorn and hibiscus and damiana and licorice root and cardamom, angelica, and suma. Yes.
This specific one is only available here?
Only available here.
Oh, wow. So that was specifically made for honey. I want to try it now.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
And what was this one called? Sorry, I forgot.
The Honey in the Heart.
Honey in the Heart.
Yeah, Rose and Damiana were like the number one most important, and then Ish helped me flush out all the other details.
It's a little bit sweet, but it's not overly sweet. I found like a lot of kombuchas, they can be overly sweetened, and I like that this one's a little bit more mild and a little bit more sour.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of alcohol in these, like similar to kombucha.
So 3% or below.
3%, okay. So a little less than a beer, less than a wine.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what's this other beautiful one we have with glitter on it? Oh, and it's warm.
Yeah, so that's the
warm.
Unicorn Heart Song. That's one of our potions. So the way we envisioned our potions was we took an idea or a concept, in this case, something very lighthearted and fun. And then we kind of built the base. We chose a base to carry some of the supporting herbs and plant product, and then supported it with crystals and flower essences. And so the Unicorn Heart Song is, the base is house-made coconut milk, which is delicious and amazing. And then we use a local company, I Indulge. They make their own honeys, and they do a bourbon vanilla honey, which is, it tastes like marshmallows. It's so good. And then we added macuna, which is a dopamine bean and the precursor to L-Dopa. And
so it's euphoric.
yes. And then we also added pearl powder, which is a beauty tonic, and the butterfly pea flower to make it blue. And it is topped with edible glitter.
Butterfly
Pea flower.
pea flower.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've never heard of that. And edible glitter.
Yes.
And is this one alcoholic?
That one is non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic. Yum, yum, yum. That's so good too. Like that homemade coconut milk. Oh my God. I wasn't expecting it to be warm, but that's really good.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I also read, you use metaphysics in a lot of, and you mentioned crystals. Could you tell me a little bit more about how else you implant metaphysical properties into your drinks, like your unicorns?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously there's so much intention and thought that go into the drink itself, so there's a lot of intention. And then when my herbalist, who's also my potion master, she makes all of the potions ahead of time. And so she adds the crystal essences. In this case, it is a Larimar and I think Rainbow.
I'm wearing, that's what
you
I'm
are,
wearing.
yeah, Rainbow Lemurian.
Nice.
And so those are gem essences that were made in Mount Shasta, California. And he uses the Mount Shasta spring water under the full moon and in big crystal singing bowls and charges the water with these crystals.
Wow.
And then we put those in the batch. And similar with the flower essences, a woman from Nevada City, California makes the flower essences for us, and we paired the energetic qualities of the crystal and the flower with the concept. And so the flower in this one is linden and cherry blossom.
I think this is the most thought and care I've ever heard put into any drink. Like I'm so impressed.
Yeah, it's a lot.
What made you choose the name honey? I know that there's honey in quite a few of the drinks, but what made you choose honey for the name of the place?
So there's multiple reasons. I can kind of give you the layers. First and foremost, there's like the backstory of the history of how this place was born, and that was through the loss and the death of my near and dear soul brother. And the morning he died, he left a note to one of my other good friends who was his partner at the time and signed it Honey Bear. And it was this really sweet little love note. And so we were going to call it the Honey Bear. And then we shortened it to Honey just to keep it short and simple.
Yeah.
And then, so that's like the personal part of the story. But then honey is also, like, I only use honey in my life as a sweetener because bees are incredible and they turn sunshine into liquid gold.
Yeah.
And it's
energy.
like, and it's the original medicine. It lasts forever. There's just, it's a very, very special item. And so.
And you use mostly local honeys in.
We use 4 different types of honeys. We have 2 local Colorado, 1 wildflower and 1 alfalfa, and then we use Montana clover, and we also use Florida orange blossom.
Yum. Yeah, you mentioned the coasters too, and that was one thing that I loved that I noticed when I saw that, the little wooden cut coasters. Did you come up with all those sayings yourself? Did you choose them? And
yeah, I picked them all.
Nice.
I went through, I'd like saved up questions throughout, because this has been a 2.5-year process, and so I saved up questions anytime something would come up, and I'd be like, oh, that's a great coaster question.
Yeah.
I also utilized some of the like conversation starter games that are out there, and just kind of like picked out ones that I felt were relevant for honey.
Yeah.
And yeah, my partner and I Carl, we designed them, we made the font for them, we had them laser cut, we painted them. So it's like a labor of love.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
When I saw those, I was like, oh, I totally relate to this girl, because like one of the things I used to do, especially with tea, is I used to make fortune cookies, and I used to like pick quotes from movies and books and just like inspirational sayings, and that was like something I always handed out with my tea. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, we're totally like on the same page. I love it. Have you been open here?
2 months.
2 months. Nice. And is this your first business that you've started?
This is my first business.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what are your more long-term goals?
Yeah,
for
so
the
I
business?
want to, for the business.
Not necessarily for the business, but also like yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to, I think there's a few goals for honey in particular. One of which is, now that we are up and running and have all of our systems in place and our menu dialed in, I want to really start focusing on events, because that is how I will tie in my passion for like mental health and wellness and psychology into the space, because that's really important to me. So I want to start organizing support groups and meetups and workshops and anything that has to do with especially mental health and wellness, but also mindfulness and reading and writing and all sorts of different things. So events are my next focus. Yeah. And then at some point I want to do a mobile honey and do like weddings and different little small events. Nothing.
You need a trailer.
Yeah.
You need a little Tea Drop trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
My dream would be converting a VW bus, but we'll see if that happens.
Nice.
And yeah, just get honey going and operating without me at some point. I know that will take some time, but I really want to go back to school. And so, because I had my applications in for my master's program, and I was on a path, and then honey and Matt's death kind of reoriented me to something else. Yeah. And so at some point I will go to school and finish that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is an amazing redirection, and I'm sure it's something that's going to continue feeding what you're already interested in, and it's going to keep your interest sparked in what you're learning. And now you have these like real life examples, especially now you're going to be doing workshops and everything. And you just had your first event. I actually came by a couple of days ago, and it was live music, right? Yep. It was medicine music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on your first event.
It was great. It was fun, and the crowd was amazing. The music was amazing. Feedback has been great. So
yeah, it was packed in here.
Yeah,
I was impressed. It was like standing room only at the point. But another thing I noticed, we were here the other night, and there was a lot of women here, and I was like, we need to tell the guys that this is the place to come for all the girls, especially like, you know, women that want to go out and have a good time and have a conversation and not just get wasted, you know, like, and I really appreciate it. You know, I don't drink I barely drink anymore. And since I've been in Denver, I've come here twice because I love having the option of having delicious drinks and a nice environment. And if somebody wants the option of having something alcoholic, they can too. But it's just so nice to like go out and have something healing as opposed to something that's you're gonna have to recover from the next day. Yes. Which I'm sure you can relate to.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And you also do cacao, which I love. And I think I was reading there's something special about your cacao on the website where you source it.
Yeah, so we have 3 different types of cacao. So cacao, similar to wine, has different nuances according to the regions that it's grown in. And so we offer 3 different types. And we do a mixed origin, which is a company out of Santa Barbara. They actually mix a bunch of different locations, and they blend for their own flavor profile. And then we work with Fortuna Chocolate out of Boulder, and they have an amazing chocolate processing food truck, and where they process bean to bar in their food truck. And
What were they called again?
Fortuna chocolate.
Fortuna.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're incredible humans. I love them so much. And they source directly from Mexico, and so it's Mexican chocolate. And then we directly source from a Mayan women's co-op down in Guatemala, and they ship us like full brick cacao, and we refine it and process it in-house to make our sipping chocolate.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. The connecting the community. I mean, that's really important with chocolate too. And I've heard all of the bad things about like the mass-produced chocolate and how it's affecting the environment and how it's affecting the people, and it's not fair trade.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to focus on where it's coming from and who's involved and how it's affecting the community. So it makes me happy to hear that you're responsibly sourcing everything. I mean, it sounds like all of your ingredients are, so much care is given to where they're sourced and how they're prepared, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Was there anything else I wanted to, oh, there was one question I had for you. I was looking at your website. There was something in Colorado about them banning kava.
It's not that it's banned. There are kava bars here in Denver, and I love what they're doing. And I wanted to do kava here because I love the pairing of cacao and kava together.
I do too.
Yeah, it's really
favorites.
Nice, and it was like an essential piece of my business model. And then the health department told me I cannot serve kava because I also serve food and I also serve alcohol, and so they won't allow me to have kava.
So you got to pick. So it's either alcohol and food, or so the kava bars usually they only serve
kava.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a bummer.
Well, you'll have to find a kava partner, and maybe you guys could do like a collab on the truck or something like that when you guys have
Yeah, I'm hoping. And even the health department is like, hey, rules change. But for this year, we can't. And so maybe it'll develop. I've also had people reach out interested to like push the issue legally for me a little bit more, which I just don't have the bandwidth for it right now, but it's definitely.
Well, you already have so many options. Kava would just be another thing to add to it. But well, great. Where can people find you online, or find more about the business, or follow you on social media, or whatever?
Yeah. So I think our main point of social media right now is Instagram, and that's Honey Elixir Bar. And that's growing and evolving. We're also on Facebook. Not quite as active, but we are on Facebook, and we have our own website. So that's also honeyelixirbar.com. And you can find us in the Rhino District in Denver.
Yep. And the Rhino District, for those of you I just learned, is the arts district of Denver. And it's this amazing, we're looking out and there's murals everywhere. It seems to be the hip, trendy spot in town, and this seems to be the place where everyone's gathering now. So if you're in Denver, come and check out Honey Elixir Bar here in Rhino.
Yes.
And thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi.
You're listening to the Tea Dropcast.
If you want to find out more about my guests or who I'll be bringing on next, you can visit theteadropspot.com. Follow us on Instagram at the Tea Drop Trailer as we take this show on the road. The Tea Dropcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, and you can watch us on YouTube. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. If you would like to be a guest, or you know someone that you'd like to hear interviewed, send all requests to theteadropspot@gmail.com.